So you got yourself a new DJI Mini 3 and you ask yourself, was this a good investment? I've been using it for a week as a complete novice, and I'm going to show you 10 things I've learned which I hope you'll find useful. First things first, and I'm sorry to break it out to you, but you need the Fly Mode combo, or at least 2 additional batteries, because no matter what they tell you that it's gonna last about 35 minutes, the truth of the matter is that you'll be lucky if you get anywhere between 22 to 25 minutes. And that depends on whether you use at any point the normal mode or the sports mode. And you may want to use those modes if you want to move around different locations and you're not filming everything in a single location or in a dedicated spot. So roughly about 22 minutes, so you really need additional batteries. So the Fly Mode combo with the bag actually is a good deal. You can fit everything in that bag, so I highly recommend the Fly Mode combo. And another thing that I really recommend is some sort of protection for the wings when the drone is packed, because these wings are going to be flapping about and you will break them or you will damage them. I got this cover off Amazon, which is relatively inexpensive, but it fits nicely. It's custom made for the DJI Mini 3, but you could literally use some Velcro tape, okay? So I leave links for anything that I'm talking about in the video description if you want to buy any of it, but trust me, you're going to need one of those. Another thing that you might find useful is to change the default settings for the cinematic mode or C mode, because as they come from factory, they are way too fast. It's okay for the normal and the sports mode because those are fine as they are, you don't really need to change those. But the C mode or the cinematic mode, you really need to dial those down so that you can get some really nice and slow footage, because otherwise your drone is going to be moving way too fast. And another thing that is really helpful, okay? And I have found this when using the C mode or cinematic mode, is to not use the little sticks or control sticks that the controller comes with. Those are really helpful if you are in the normal or sports mode, but on the cinematic mode or C mode, sometimes you really want to move slow. And the settings as they are on the drone itself and on the controller, they're not slow enough sometimes. You know, the controller reacts too aggressively, in my opinion. So by not having the sticks, you are actually able to use your thumbs to control the drone, and you might find that you actually get a slower movement. This is a very easy drone to fly. You know, don't be scared thinking that you need to take some long classes or that you're gonna crash onto the first thing that you fly into, okay? This is super easy to fly. The app is really well implemented. I got the drone with the RC controller and it's a joy to use. I don't need to register the app when I first fly the drone and anything else, okay? The one thing that you need to be very aware, okay, is that to register for DJI Care Refresh, which is something that I genuinely recommend everybody, because you might damage, crash your drone, whatever happens, you go either 1 year or 2 years, pretty much they replace it for you. You have a 48-hour window from the moment you first power the drone and the drone registers to the controller and the controller with head office, whatever DJI is based, okay? So you got 48 hours. If you don't register your drone within those 48 hours and buy the Apple Care Refresh, it's a real pain in the rear. You need to go through a video demonstration with them where you need to show them the drone flying, and then you need to go into the settings of the controller. It's an absolute pain. So my advice, the moment you register this drone, the moment you turn it on, be prepared to pay for the key refresh, because it's gonna save you a lot of hassle and give you a lot of peace of mind. Now, one thing that this drone doesn't do, at least I haven't experienced, is the 5-kilometer range that they claimed it has, okay? So I have not experienced that. I'm in a very remote coastal village, and the maximum I've taken it without breaking the signal is about 2 kilometers, and that's on direct link or contact with nothing in between on a beach as I am now. So if you're in a town, in a village, somewhere where there is population, where there are buildings, where your drone may not be in direct link or contact with your controller, that might be reduced as low as 400 or 500 meters. So you need to be very aware of that when you plan your shots and think about what you're gonna shoot and where, because it really is not an amazing range. I'm sure over time the firmware updates will increase that and will improve that. Don't be disheartened. This is a really cool drone to fly, okay? Really easy. You just need to be aware of these things, okay? You might need to have a spotter if you are filming something that involves buildings in a populated area. But you know, range is nowhere near as advertised, so you need to be aware of that. Now, two more things that you really need to be very aware of, okay? So this drone can move really fast and really abruptly, okay? So depending on the settings that you set your controller on, whether it is cinematic mode, normal or sports mode, naturally the drone is gonna move differently. Now, you might be used to watching all these edited videos from drone people or drone operators where everything looks buttery smooth and really slow and amazing, okay? So that's just a fraction of the time of the drone when it's flying, okay? Most of the times you're gonna be moving around, relocating, repositioning the drone. You want to be using the sports mode if you are in an open space with no risk, or normal mode, okay? So your sensors are not disabled, because the moment you go into the sports mode, there is no sensors, you literally are flying on your own. But this drone moves really fast, so practice is everything, like everything in life. So practice, practice, practice. The more you use the drone, the more familiar you become with the movements, and the more comfortable and confident you will feel. Don't expect to pick up this drone the first day and then suddenly pulling out shots just as good as someone that's been using drones for 5 or 10 years. That's just not gonna happen. You need to be realistic with this. But the more you practice, the more cool shots you're gonna get. And trust me, it's gonna put a smile on your face, big time. And the one thing that I genuinely think this is essential, not just with any camera, but with drones specifically, is getting yourself a set of neutral density filters, okay? ND filters are gonna make a ton of a difference on the quality of your footage. By using ND filters, everything is gonna look really nice and smooth, and then you can decide whether you want a higher shutter speed or not based on specific shots. If you are very high up in the sky, you might be okay with a higher shutter speed, but if you want to have that blur effect when the drone is going at low level of the ground, the sea, whatever it is that you're filming at, there is no way you're gonna get that without ND filters. I've got this brand called Skytree. They work amazing. They were the first brand that came out with ND filters. If there was one thing that I would recommend you to get above anything else, whatever it is that I talked about in this video, or anybody, is get yourself a set of ND filters. They're gonna make a massive difference to the quality of your footage. I think they're a must. Another thing that is really important is that you know where you're gonna film with this drone, okay? Because the moment this thing goes 30, 40, 50 meters high up, you're not gonna see it, okay? So this idea of staying within the line of sight, if you were to do that, you are gonna have to keep this drone within 20 or 30 meters. This is a small drone, okay? The moment it goes up in the sky, 50 meters up, that's it. You can't see this, you can't see shit. This thing is small. Understand what you're gonna film, where you're gonna film, and potentially do some homework. You know, you might need to learn the moves that you're gonna do, whether there are any restrictions, because this genuinely is something that you need to be aware of, okay? You are not gonna see this. To some extent, even when you press the return to home, you're not gonna see the drone until literally it's right above your head, because this is tiny. Which brings me to the next point, okay? This, I don't know how they've done it, okay? This is a quiet drone, okay? I've flown this on this beach a couple of days ago. It was jam-packed and only around 20 meters high up. Nobody could hear anything, okay? And yes, obviously you got the sound coming from the sea and the birds and everything around, but normally drones, they're quite loud, you know, you can genuinely feel that you got something hovering over your head. This thing is very quiet. I've taken this onto the village where I'm at, and nobody can hear this. So this is great if you need to film in congested areas. Just need to understand about privacy laws and regulations and have a little bit of decency. This is really quiet, and it's gonna give you a lot of flexibility in terms of where you wanna film and how close you can get to things. Last but not least is the sensors, okay? These sensors work really well. DJI has done a really good job. Naturally, they have very high-end drones, so the technology is very easy to sort of trickle down. But the front, rear and bottom sensors, they're really nice. They give you a lot of confidence when flying this drone, okay? You just need to make sure that you use your brain and don't do anything stupid, okay? God gave us this muscle for a reason. Use it. 90% of using a drone is using your brain and not doing anything stupid. If you do that, you're gonna get some really good effects. Now, this drone doesn't have side sensors, so if you do any parallel filming or tracking, or you might be rotating around something, you need to do a little bit of homework. You need to find out if there are any wires or if there is anything in that tracking path that is gonna be higher than the altitude that you have your drone set to, because otherwise it's gonna crash, okay? But as long as you don't do anything stupid, you do a little bit of homework and you use your brain, this is fantastic, okay? This is gonna give you so much confidence. I've had a joy flying this drone. It's really nice. And if you buy it, you are not going to be disappointed. And on that note, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It's nice to see the numbers going up. At the end of this video, I'll leave a couple of other videos that I think you might find useful. And I'll see you in the next video.